yes.
You've got a lovely bike. You might have seen some of these big bike rides that take place in cities like London. You thought, oh, maybe I'll give that a whirl.
I haven't quite reached that point yet, but I look at them and go, my goodness.
Streets are closed to traffic, give cyclists a chance to tour the city, see all the sights, along with stretching your legs on your favourite bike, of course. Well, if London's too far for you this weekend, you can actually go and tackle one in Birmingham. Someone who is going is Richard Banks from Oswestry, and his favourite bike's not perhaps what you'd expect for a long ride. He's on the line. Hello, Richard.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you feeling ahead of Velo Birmingham?
Well, I'm trying to throw off the last vestiges of some flu so that I'm ready for the 100 miles on Sunday.
Well, that's not perfect timing.
It's not, but these things happen, don't they? But other than that, I'm about as ready as I'm ever going to be, I guess.
I think Vicky just caught flu from this.
yes, contaminated already.
So, tell us about the ride itself. How did you get involved with it?
Well, it's the inaugural Velo Birmingham closed road 100 mile sportif. Starts out from Birmingham, ends in Birmingham, but passes through large parts of Worcestershire and Staffordshire. There's going to be about 15,000 riders.
Wow.
14,999 of whom are very sensibly going to be on lightweight road bikes.
And this is where we get to what you're riding. Well, tell us about your beast.
Well, I'm going to be riding a folding Brompton commuter bike, which has the benefit of 16-inch wheels. And I'm doing so because I'm doing the event in order to raise funds for the Queen Elizabeth Hospital charity, principally for their cancer care services. I was at the hospital with my partner's mother, who's getting treatment there, excellent treatment, and I happened to see an advert for the event, 100 miles closed roads race, and I thought that is a perfect thing to participate in on the Brompton, because it might garner more interest and thus raise more towards the charity.
Yes, obviously, yes, it's all about raising money for the charities. There's people that have never seen a fold-up bike before. It's sort of, you sit quite upright, don't you? As you say, quite small wheels, but is it designed, can you do 100 miles on this bike?
It's not designed for the purpose for which I'm using it, and in many ways my friends and I have spent the last few years trying to prove that it can be used for purposes other than that it's designed for. It's really for commuting purposes. It folds back on itself, folds up into a fairly square sort of package, and as you say, it does mean you sit up fairly high on the bike, fairly upright. It's not designed for long distance, but I have cycled it long distances before with friends.
Will you be taking it with you to Birmingham, folded up, and sort of unfurling it on the start line, as it were?
Well, I hope to shock everybody by turning up at the start line with it all folded and proceed to unfold it to the amazement of other participants, I'm hoping.
You can watch videos, I know. There's lots of YouTube videos of people sort of setting their personal best, folding it up and folding it away as well. Is that something you sort of aim for?
Well, I have had to do that, of necessity, getting on and off of French trains on tours. I think the record for folding a Brompton is something ridiculous like 6 or 7 seconds.
Because if anyone's seen the comedy W1A, I think one of the characters in that has a folding bike, and the joke being he can never ever fold it up properly. They're quite a task, aren't they? Once you get the hang of it, it's okay, but they're quite tricky.
Well, yes, I think, as with most things, it's down to practice. If you've done it a few times, it comes more swiftly. I'm hoping that, it's not going to be folding itself back up whilst I'm out on the circuit.
At mile 60, that's not what you want. Now, you have to start around 7:15 in the morning, aren't you? So how are you going to get there?
My partner is going to drive me in first thing on Sunday morning. Because there's 15,000 participants, obviously they've got to pen people in groups and have different start times for different groups. I'll actually be getting away at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Well, good luck with it, Richard. Is there any way people can sponsor you ahead of this event?
Yes, that would be wonderful. If people were to type into their favourite search engine the words Richard Banks Brompton, that will bring up my Just Giving page. I'm hoping to raise £1,500. We're very much getting towards that now. We're 90% of the way towards that. So if people typed in Richard Banks Brompton, they'd get my Just Giving page. And any donations for the Queen Elizabeth Hospital charity would be very, very much appreciated.
Well, good luck, Richard, and do report back and let us know how it goes.
I'll be very happy to do that.
Thank you, Richard. Good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Richard Banks from Oswestry is riding the Velo Birmingham on a folding bike. Other brands are available, by the way. 100 miles on a folding bike.
I've taken his fluke hold. I will hold it for him whilst he cycles, and then I will return it as he tells us how he did.
But timing is everything. I mean, maybe the last bits of it now, by Sunday, back to full fighting fitness.
Well, you saw what we saw.
Wow. Hello, sir. What's your name? Just introduce yourself.
My name's Richard Banks.
Richard, firstly, how are you feeling about tomorrow? Now, you're riding on something a little bit different.
That's right. As Ned Bolting was just referring to, he made mention of himself and David Miller cycling around on folding Brompton bikes, and I'm doing the 100 miles tomorrow on a folding Brompton in order to raise funds for the Queen Elizabeth Hospital charity.
Now, this is fabulous. Just talk to me a little bit about your Brompton bike. How far have you managed to get on it already?
What we used to do is we used to go to the Le Mans endurance races in France. We used to take them in order to cycle around the circuit. And one year, in a mad moment, somebody suggested that we actually cycled the race, which we did. And then each year, the events got longer and longer. Last year, we cycled from northern France to the Pyrenees on folding Bromptons, so about 650 miles, but that was in nice 40-mile chunks.
I was going to say, so how are you going to fare with 100 solid miles tomorrow?
I think I might be okay until we get to the big hill at 85 miles, when somebody's going to have to scrape me up and pull me up the hill, I think.
I'm sure you won't be the only person then. Are you looking forward to it? How are you finding this event?
I think the organisation is absolutely fantastic. It's evident today as well. The support throughout the build-up for the race has been great. I'd also, if I may, take the opportunity to make mention of the charity that I'm doing it for.
Go for it.
They have a stand over there, the Queen Elizabeth Hospital charity. My mother's partner is receiving fantastic cancer care treatment there, so I'm raising funds for their cancer services. So if anyone were wanting to sponsor me, if you typed in Richard Banks Brompton, you'd get my Just Giving site. And in particular, if Ned Bolting can hear me, and or David Miller indirectly, any sponsorship from you two, particularly you use Bromptons, would be absolutely fantastic.
There you go, take it, use it, plug away, good for you. Good luck tomorrow, enjoy.
About another mile, but when you get to the top of there, apparently it's all downhill.
Well, it's all been downhill for a while, really.
Yeah.
You might remember we spoke to a gentleman called Richard Banks from Oswestry who was going to attempt the Birmingham Velo on a foldable bike. And
Yes, I do remember.
a long-distance bike ride. It's 100 miles. We wondered how he was going to get on. Well, we can find out right now because Richard is on the line. Hello, Richard.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm very good. How are the legs?
Not too bad, actually. Surprisingly good. Not as bad as they were after a couple of the training rides I did during the summer.
So you decided to take on the Birmingham Velo on a foldable bike. We'll talk about the ride in a moment. What was the event like overall? How did it strike you?
It was a fantastic event, very well organised overall. I mean, as ever, with any inaugural event, it's going to have some ways of improving, and I'm sure they'll do so in future years. The next date's already fixed, I think. But overall, the organisation was absolutely superb. And the key thing that struck me cycling around the course was the number of people who were out in each of the towns and villages supporting the event, waving their flags and offering water and drinks to people. It was very well supported, a very good event all round, I'd say.
And what was the reaction to you riding past on your folding bike?
Each of the bikers had their name printed on a pad on the front of the bike, so people were actually able to shout out encouragement by name, which was, from the sidelines was all very enthusiastic. From fellow riders, I think there was about 50% of people congratulating me on attempting it on a folding bike, and 50% thinking that I'd completely lost my marbles, both of whom were right.
And how did the initial unfolding of the bike on the start line? You promised you'd carry it there and sort of get it ready. How did that go?
I did carry it down, folded up and unfolded it on the start line. There were a number of different pens with 15,000 riders. People were penned into groups. And I looked around, imagining that I might see one or two other folding bikes. There were looks of surprise as I unfolded the bike. And as I learned later on, I was one of only two folding bikes.
There was another one?
There was one. There was another chap on a folding bike, a different brand. He had larger wheels than me, had 20-inch wheels, so I regarded him as cheating.
Is this where you tell us he finished ahead of you?
He did finish ahead of me.
Different category, yeah, 20-inch wheel category, that's fine. So overall, a great experience. Remind us why you were raising money in the first place and how people can support you now.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my partner's mother has been receiving excellent cancer care treatment from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham, and I was riding in support of that charity. If people were to search Richard Banks Brompton, they'd get my Just Giving site. Having completed the course, actually done the race, I did actually get to the end and do the 100 miles. I'm very pleased to say that the numbers of donations have chipped up some more, and we're just over £1,600 now for the QEHV charity, and so that, many thanks to all those who have donated.
Terrific. Where's your trusted folding bike going to take you next, do you think?
I have a friend over from Canada at the moment, and he and my wonderful partner Abby were in the chase car following me round the course, and he and I were discussing this morning a possible ride from perhaps Prague to Hamburg along the River Ilv, so maybe that's where we'll head next.
Sounds good. That sounds wonderful. Well done, Richard. Well done for raising all that money and doing what is a very tricky bike ride on whatever machine you're doing. So congratulations.
Thank you very much, and thank you for calling me back to find out how things went.
No problem. Pleasure. Thank you very much, Richard. Richard Banks from Oswestry, who attempted the Birmingham Velo 100 miles on his folding bike. And of course, other makes of folding bike are available too. You can find them online, I'm sure. But wow, to think of, I cycle all the time. If I attempted 100 miles, I would definitely know about it on my bike, and to do it on a folding bike is something else. It really is. That is an amazing achievement. I would not wish to try that.
Because it folds, I also imagine it flies. Is that not the case?
Yeah, if you like. Yeah, it's fine.
Good, okay. Now, listen up, girls, because on the breakfast...